What makes a good retro game collection? Now, over the years, my collection has changed massively. My collecting habits, my retro game hunts, loads of things have changed. And back in the day, I used to buy absolutely everything that I could get my hands on. And I naively thought that that was a really good way to collect retro games. And whilst it worked for me at the time, what it actually did was it built quantity over quality. And now I think what really makes a really flipping thriving retro game collection is quality over quantity. Now, of course, amassing so many things like many of you and reading your comments about only buy what you really want to play, it's really got me thinking recently about my collecting habits. And again, flogging loads of stuff. I've mentioned previously that I'm thinking about doing markets going into next year. And I have massively cut down on spending, hugely cut down on spending, because there's nothing I really want. Some things really excite me, and you're going to see something in this video where I go to a CX, which was absolutely amazing. And I managed to find a DS game that completes a very small trilogy on the DS, which is a very prominent trilogy, a very exciting trilogy, and a trilogy that I was blessed to do a little bit of a piece of work for with Konami this year when the trilogy was re-released on the PlayStation Store. And I picked up a really, really good PS5 game, which is a remaster of a survival horror game from, I think that was PS2 era. So I'm going to show you guys that as well. But I was thinking, when I was in the store, I could have bought that, and I would have just been kind of like grabbing loads of stuff. So I was like, actually, no, that is really not the way to kind of go about it. Now, I've been looking through my GBA collection, and there's loads of Game Boy Advance games that I want to sell, loads of Game Boy stuff, things like Finding Nemo that I'm never ever going to play. For me, something like the Game Boy, so your Nintendo stuff, I want to collect just the first party stuff. So all your Marios, all your Mario Karts, the Pokemon stuff, any kind of stuff that's in the periphery or the shrapnel, I'm really not bothered about anymore. And I have you to thank for that. I have my viewers to thank for just raising awareness around, collecting habits. And I watch other collectors and I see what other people say at markets and stuff. And people just say, I'm selling off X, Y, and Z because I'm just not interested anymore. So I'm really grateful for the community for helping me to kind of navigate that journey around how my collecting habits are going to change and will continue to change as well. And that's great because, again, it gives me tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff that I still need to go through and sell. But before we dive into that, we're going to stitch in some footage, some voiceover footage on the Mansfield CEX. Now, for you might like your quantity over quality, so pay attention here because there's a lot of quantity and a lot of quality. All right, we are here in Mansfield, and boy have we got a surprise because I found a game in here that I have been searching for quite some time. Let this hunt commence. Now, I will say that this was one of the best CXs I've been in a long time for the variation, not just on the retro, but also on PlayStation 3, 4, and you'll kind of see for yourself anyway. The only section we didn't really glide over in this episode is the PS2 section because I am just not bothered about collecting for PS2 at the moment unless it's a really nice big hitter. But in terms of your retro, check that out, 160 for Super Mario World yellow label. Now, initially I thought the box looked fake, but on closer inspection it did actually look pretty darn clean, and I don't believe it was a repro. But again, loads of nice stuff in that. In at £100 box, I think that went for about £260 in the Chesterfield branch recently, so that's kind of insane. So we're scoping out PS5 stuff first, and I was mentioning this to Heather recently. Bad disc, flipping heck. Predator Hunting Grounds. Now, I think that's Predator Hunting Grounds, but either way, it was Predator Hunting Grounds we were talking about, and I don't know if the servers are still offline, but I actually really enjoyed that game when it came out. We were playing it a lot on stream, and it was great with friends. So, if you played Predator Hunting Grounds, definitely smash a comment and let us know, are the servers offline, and if not, do you play? So scoping down to DS stuff then, we found this beast. We found this Dawn of Sorrow Castlevania. It is the third of the DS trilogy. You can get it on the PlayStation as well. It was recently released, I say recently, within the last 12 months on the PlayStation Store. And shout out to Heather, she's a big fan of Evil Dead. I picked that out for you, Hev. Unfortunately, cover reprinted. But the Castlevania stuff was really nice to get, and we'll talk more about that when we get back to the Lady Lounge or Lady Loft. Now, original Xbox stuff, Not gonna lie, lost a lot of passion for the OG Xbox recently. I kind of had an Xbox, and I used to watch my friends play Xbox a lot when I was at university. But for me, the staple titles were, well, I guess I did enjoy Halo, and then I kind of fell in and out of love with Halo. But I actually really like playing GTA 3 on my Xbox as well as PS2, and it was, I think Doom 3, when Doom 3 came out, it was an Xbox original exclusive. So I sold a big PS2 collection, and I went in for an OG Xbox many moons ago. That was like my sole purpose, to get an original Xbox back then. But I digress there with a bit of story time. Here we're scoping out some 360 stuff. Really great game. I'm surprised at that. Fear. Surprised at how much that's actually shot up in value over these past couple of, I guess, months. And then Hitman, again, another big one for Hev. She loves Hitman, and I've said this a million times, I've loved that kind of cel shady box art on this. Really nice. Now for you, what would you say your favourite Hitman game is? What do you reckon, guys? Now again, mentioned it in an episode recently, PS3, PS4, after some really nice titles, got some Soul Calibur 4 in here, a couple of copies, didn't pick it up, but I did clock some really nice stuff. There's some wicked stuff in here. Cheap again, Enemy Front locked in at £6, and I think it's a great time to buy PS3 and 360, and I'm seeing a lot of Essentials in as well. That has shot up in value. I'm sure Skyrim used to be, I remember when it was £1 as well, but I guess this is the anniversary edition, so it's locked in at £4, but it's still a 75% price hike. Now check this out, we've got a really rare game here called Azura's Wrath, and I'd never seen it before. I'm going to talk a little bit about this as we glide through the rest of this episode. So I'm just kind of doing a little bit of research on this game, and I think I really need to pick it up. I've seen it go for a little bit cheaper on eBay, so I think I'm going to shop around for it. But apparently, according to Wikipedia, I'm going to read this out here from Wikipedia, Azura's Wrath is a mix of multiple genres, overall presented in the style of an episodic anime series. I mean, how cool does that sound? Again, it says here, quote, the gameplay constantly shifts from third-person beat-em-up combat to a rail shooter and interactive cutscenes with various QTE. How amazing does that sound? So I think that's definitely one I'm going to be checking out. And again, I did mention about bolstering the PlayStation 3 hidden gems, and I think you're going to be paying a pretty penny, because as much as you can get nice bargains on PS3 and 360, I think Azura's Wrath is one of those examples of where you're paying that little bit more for, I guess, a more of a unique style of game. So I'm glad we managed to show that in this episode, because I just love I love discovering new things. It really motivates me, and CEX of course is a great place to go to do just that. Next up then, we've got this, pricing at $32, Crash Time 5 with a reprinted cover. Again, one I've never seen, so I don't actually know if this is a good price or not, but I will say for a cover reprinted, they do need to relax themselves on price a little bit, because technically this is an unboxed game. But again, as you can see, there was a nice selection here in Mansfield in regard to your PlayStation 3 stuff. Now for you Saints Row fans, £8 this locked in. I am not a huge fan at all, and again, I always say if you see multiple copies of things, it's never really that great. I think there are a couple of copies of that spaced out elsewhere. Some classic Street Fighter on the PS2 there, I actually own that, it's a really nice addition. And then over to some 360, check it out, a little bit of Grease Lightning for you. I don't know why that tickled me as I picked it up, but hey. And that Kinect, who plays Kinect now? Like, that thing seems obsolete, but if you do still play Kinect, I want to hear from you actually, because I feel like it's a bit of a niche part of gaming. So I found this absolute charmer, Atelier Riser 2, Lost Legends and the Secret Fairy. Bit of a mouthful, but I was kind of fascinated by it because I've never seen it before. So again, I'm doing some research, and this is a gorgeous looking role-playing game. And as you can see from the trailer here, it looks absolutely stunning. Apparently this is a series of games, so this is not a standalone, and you can kind of go around crafting items, using various magical powers to attach to your players just to go through the game and kick some RPG backside. So I think this looks really good, but I wasn't quite sure on the price, because maybe if you shop around, you can probably get it a lot cheaper. Another RPG here, Death End Request locked in at £25. I seem to be kind of drawn to RPGs. In fact, if you watch mine and Heather's episode from Monday, you'll see that we did a £10 CEX challenge in which we had to buy the best games. Go and check out who won, but spoiler alert, I picked some pretty gnarly RPGs. But here we've got some Dragon Quest as well, locked in at £8. Absolute bargain. If I didn't have that, I would have gripped it. Now, in terms of the final whip around, I think what this little segment shows is you can, again, still get some really nice bargains. Far Cry Primal tends to get a bit of a bad rap, but again, I think it's great. I'm really a huge fan of the Far Cry games. Far Cry 2 is the best game ever. But then I found this absolute gem, Inertial Drift. I'm loving the kind of 80s neon kind of box art, and apparently this is a twin stick racer that looks really, really nice when I checked out some gameplay. Should have picked it up, but I kind of like just plying games into my backlog at this point, so I put it down. I was just happy to pick up Castlevania, honestly, because it does complete the trilogy, and like I said, I've been scouring it at the markets on various retro game hunts for quite some time, so it's pretty lucky just to drop on it natively here in Mansfield. So what we're going to do now is we're going to head back to the Lady Lounge or Loft, basically head back to base whilst we just finish off browsing some of these games here. I'm going to talk to you guys about some just random other gaming bits now, including another pickup that I found behind the till in this particular store. I need a few seconds of your time to tell you about channel memberships. If you guys want to become a channel member, click join from the main page or the second link in the description. There are 3 tiers, all with different perks for you if you want to become a team member. Thanks for your time. Let's continue with the video. Absolutely awesome. I particularly loved this PlayStation 3 game, which I will buy. And the reason I'm going to buy it is because it's exactly what I said. It's a quality game. I could spend that £50 and buy 20 PS3 games, but why not just buy the one, experience it, enjoy it. I've never played it, never heard of it. And then I've got a brand new PlayStation 3 game, Hidden Gem, which is really what I'm focusing on at the moment. PS4, PS3 Hidden Gems, which is what I mentioned to you guys in the last couple of episodes that I've done. So I will find that. I'll try and find it cheaper. I'm going to do a little bit of a shop around, but we now know that it's £50 in CEX. So I'm seriously contemplating that. But what a lovely surprise to find Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, which completes my mini DS trilogy. As you can see here, we've got the other 2 that I managed to pick up. I think it was from Alan's store, Forgotten Worlds, at a Doncaster gaming market over the summer. And this is obviously the cheapest because I think I paid in the vicinity of between 80 to 100 for the previous 2. But I managed to get a lovely complete copy of Dawn of Sorrow. So again, these were released on PlayStation Store. So if you don't want to be collecting the physical stuff, you can play these for much cheaper. I will link a video in the cards where it was a sponsored video from Konami and I unpick all 3 of these games on the PlayStation. So go and check that out if you're thinking about buying them. I'd highly suggest checking it. And it's a good baseline to know if you want to then splash out and collect the physical stuff. So, and this is great because it's got everything in it, including like, I love this kind of stuff. As a physical collector, things like this, little posters, look, random little posters, random little advertise. Never heard of that, Lost in Blue. Looks intriguing. Never heard of that. Have you heard of that? Interesting. But the little posters as well that come with it just fill my soul with joy, as I always said. So super, super stoked to finally complete my DS trilogy. Let's pop you over there, Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow. Now I mentioned a 3rd-person survival horror game. Do you remember this? Picked up The Thing Remastered Deluxe Edition. Now we'll cut away and we'll show you everything that is inside this. But not only is the 1982 film a real classic, but the game on PS2 was also an incredible experience. I loved it. I remember playing it with my friends when I started university. We kind of did, I think it was like year 2 or something like that, 2002, 2003. Experienced the original game for the first time. And boy, did we have fun, because I'm a huge horror girl. I love my horror movies, my classics like Nightmare on Elm Street, Chucky, there's some really old, obscure stuff like, do you remember a horror film called The Slugs or Slugs? It was crazy, but I love my horror stuff, and I absolutely adore horror games. So I managed to this was kind of sat on the back. You know, you kind of go to pay, it's like sat on the back there, and I'm like, can I have a look? And this is in really nice condition, considering that it is a pre-owned game. So I picked this up, and I think I paid £42 for this, because you don't see this particular edition that often. And as much as like the PS5 has been hashing out remasters and remakes, it's been a very disappointing generation, I kind of figured we would box this off, and very happy with it. So I might stream it, I don't know. I've been kind of branching out in my live streams and stepping away from Fortnite a little bit. I'm actually streaming Ghost of Yota at the minute. If you want to come and follow me on Kick, live streams every Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. Come and hang out and stream, we'll talk live, it's great. But this could potentially be a little thing in terms of live streaming. So I'll show you guys what's in it, and then yeah, we'll continue the episode. But this is a nice addition, check it out. So as you guys can see, this is in really nice condition, and it comes with loads of cool stuff inside. Obviously we've got the game itself, and I think this box art really pops with a nice colour shift from the orange down to the blue. Back, it exactly emulates exactly what is on the outer case. Sadly though, there's no internal box art. Of course, there's a lot of Steelbook fans on the channel, and I think this looks really, really nice, but there's some cool things inside too. We've got some patches that you can iron onto your clothes if you feel so inclined to do so. For me, I'm not too fussed, but I think they're really cool. Of course, you've got some confidential information and an ID card of the main protagonist. Check it out. And of course, internal box art on the Steelbook itself. And finally, you've got this really cool movie poster, which I think is a really nice touch. Typically, I'm not too fussed about posters, as is clearly nowhere to put them, but the fact that this emulates the movie poster is absolutely awesome. Cool or what? Now, as a Brit, I'm sharing a little memory here. We're going to be talking about the Amiga, because without an Amiga in your retro game collection, well, it just doesn't feel right. Now, I have a 500, a modded 600 and the A500 Mini and a CD32, so there's nice versatility here. But one thing that really strikes me as I guess more of a memory and a nostalgia piece of retro game collection are copied Amiga games. Being able to copy Amiga games as a little girl when we were just completely poor, me and my friends, it really opened up. It was like a gateway into be able to play such a vast library of video games. And one that I will cherish forever, walking into my friend Matt and Richard's bedroom as a little girl, right, they had bunk beds, and we just got this like screen, it just had X copy running, and honestly, I thought we were like hacking the world. I was like, whoa, this is so insane. So having something like this in my collection means the absolute world. And I do have very few physical Amiga games, but I just don't have the space. I do not have the space. So I think, like, in terms of having a staple in your collection, definitely getting an Amiga hooked up. And if you don't have the space, of course, you've got the option of the A500 Mini, right? Which I've done a lot of work on this in the past. I've done a lot of videos on this. I've done top 10 Amiga games. In fact, I'll link the Amiga playlist if you want to go and check it out. It's a very thorough playlist, and one that I do really need to rekindle my relationship with. And a lot of you guys keep asking me for Amiga stuff as well. So I'm hearing you, and I'm seeing you. So definitely you can kind of expect more of that stuff. And what also makes for a good retro game collection, if I very unprofessionally reach in, is the indie games. So this is Roguecraft. This is a procedurally generated dungeon crawler, and this was a recent release on the Amiga. So I like to support a lot of indie devs going around, not just for Amiga but Dreamcast as well. So I picked this up and I absolutely love this game. They also sent me a digital copy, so I'm able to put that on the A500 Mini. So this is also available on Evercade as well. So if you've not played some Roguecraft, let's take a quick look at some gameplay, and you can make your own decision up, because again, what makes a good retro game collection is diving into indie games, expanding your knowledge about things that have just come out. We can still enjoy things that have coming out today on these old machines, and how amazing is that? Roguecraft is a retro-inspired turn-based roguelike available now on the Amiga and the CD32. Now in Roguecraft you only have one life, so you need to venture into these dungeons very carefully, but note there are plenty of features to help you and inspire you along the way and add some varying degrees of difficulty. You can expect procedurally generated levels, a unique experience for each playthrough, quick sessions with most games lasting between 30 and 40 minutes to completion, gorgeously glorious pixelated isometric graphics, to bolster your fun in Roguecraft. Again, this is available on Evercade, and I will say that this is not a sponsored video, but definitely a hidden gem that you need to check out, especially if you're an Amiga fan. So if you're in the area and you want to check out Mansfield CEX, I would highly recommend it. It's one of my personal favourites. Let me know what you've been picking up recently. Come and hang out on Discord. Check out all the social media links in the description. But for now, guys, make sure you hit that like, hype, and please subscribe. Thank you so much. It's been a bit of a rough ride recently, but I'm still ploughing ahead with content. Got some plans coming. Got a lot going on in the background, but it's going to be business as usual here, and I'm looking forward to getting out on many more retro game hunts, many more kind of I love this kind of sitting down stuff at the minute. I don't know if it's like the season change and it's cold outside, but I'm really enjoying just talking to you in front of the camera. So yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.